So an overview of what we talked about so far. We have our working memory, which is short-term, so it's a lot of our mental calculations. We have our episodic memory, which is long-term, and it's about our events from our own life. We have semantic memory, which is general long-term, and it's all of our general knowledge. We have priming, which is when we use cues to retrieve other information. Procedural memory, which is remembering tasks or procedures. We have classical conditioning, which is making associations with everything, between two things, I guess. We then have the information processing model, which talked about encoding. We have to encode things. We then have to store it somewhere. Then later on, we have to retrieve it. We also talked about chunking. So breaking things into chunks is easier to remember it than remembering a bunch of lists of either letters and numbers. The primacy effect, which is remembering the first things in a list compared to the rest of the things. The recency effect is remembering the last things or the most recent things you've heard. We have shallow processing versus deep processing. So shallow processing is all the physical characteristics of something, and deep processing is remembering or associating the meaning of the things you're learning. We have mass practice versus space practice. Mass practice is one big time, where space practice is a bunch of little times, and space practice is supposed to be the better option, so a bunch of little practices over one big mass practice. We have self-referent encoding, which is remembering things or associating things with your own life, so yourself. Distinctiveness, which is how distinctive things are, so some things that are very unique or distinctive are easier memorized. Organizing information in different categories will help you remember them better. We have the context effect, which is the physical place where you're doing that learning, will help you recall things better. State dependent is what your emotional or psychological state is. Well, if you're in that same state to remember things, you'll remember them easier. We then talked about interference, which blocks information. So we had two types. We had retroactive and proactive. So retroactive is the new blocking the old, and proactive is the old things blocking the new things. And then we had the fan effect, was just basically we associated too many things with one cue, and therefore we began to forget things because too many things were associated with that one cue. So all of these things should help you out with your how to study activity. So talking about these different types of things you can do to help memorize things and be able to retrieve the information for a test.